My name's Hippie Swift. For the last 10 years I've been encouraging the younger generations to get out into nature and explore the world we live in. Exploring by Bike takes an educational and inspirational look into the places I see, along with history, community and other outdoor activities. We'll be taking a look at some of the equipment I use and how to stay safe while on the road. With special guests each week who take us through what they love best about being outdoors, we get to explore lots of different hobbies and interests. In this episode of Exploring by Bike, we're travelling through Suffolk. We stop off at Minsmere Nature Reserve, grab some food in Woodbridge, we visit the place I grew up and take a look around Framlingham Castle before finding a campsite for the night. Today's special guest is amateur archaeologist and historian Ben. He'll be giving us some great advice and a few tips on how to start metal detecting, along with why he's chosen a bike for transport. My name's Hippie Swift and this is Exploring by Bike. When you're cycling around country lanes, it's very important to pay close attention to the foliage and long grass beside the roadside. Oncoming traffic may be coming around the corner and it's very hard to see with these overgrown verges. So just go safe when you're on the road. Six and a half miles east on the south border of the River Deben lies Woodbridge. Here you'll find the Maybush Inn, which serves top quality food and a good view of the local River Deben. On the Woodbridge shoreline you can expect to see lots of dinghies like this, all the way up to medium-sized private yachts. They do boat trips out and it's very nice to walk along here with your loved one or your children. I'm not actually going to stay for dinner, instead I'm just going to stay for a short break and then head over to Woodbridge, about 6 miles down the road. A very important bit of information here: stay between 7 and 12 miles an hour on these dirt tracks, because if your front wheel slips out when you apply the front brake, you could end up down into the riverbed where there's nasty shopping trolleys and that type of thing, or worse, you could actually hit a pedestrian. Tip for climbing hills is don't stand up like I just did all the way up the hill, or you will find yourself slightly out of breath with a slight pain in your heart and legs. But what I like to typically do is have my body position a bit more forwards on the front of the saddle, with your bum more forwards on the saddle. You can put your hands a bit more forwards or even put them on top of the shifters like this to really get your weight over the front wheel, and you'll get up plenty of hills without much issue at all. Here in Suffolk there's plenty of history around us, so today's special guest is amateur archaeologist and historian Ben. He'll be taking us through the basics of metal detecting and how to get started in the hobby, and why he's chosen a bike over a car for transport. Today we're joined by my friend Ben, commonly known as 180 Philly, so Hunter on YouTube.
What?
So Ben, what does it take to start metal detecting?
So this is my Garrett Ace 250, and I've got the Nell Tornado coil fitted onto it. It just gives it a little bit extra depth, which is what I like. And most detectors have this section at the top, which is called your control box, and that tells you the sensitivity. Some machines, depending on how much money you spend, they will tell you the discrimination to what type of artifact it is you're trying to dig up. And speaking of artifacts, that is why I do this, Luke. I love the hobby for the history side of things. We're on the beach today. You know, it's a brilliant place to start metal detecting. Headphones, a handy bit of kit to have with the metal detector, because as you can see now we're on the beach and the waves are coming in and that can alter the sounds, and if you haven't got headphones you're not going to hear the tones of your machine. So headphones, yes, definitely a handy bit of kit to have. To help you out a little bit more, once you've dug a hole, you need to pinpoint that target. So you've dug your hole, it's in the hole somewhere, or is it in the clod that you've just pulled out? So to help you with that, Garrett have made these pinpointers, and I have this one here. It's the Garrett Pro Pointer, all-terrain, so 80, and it's a really handy bit of kit to have. There's various settings on here, so you can have different depths of detection, so waterproof as well. So they are very handy for locating the target inside the hole once you've found it initially with your metal detector. So you've got your detector, you've got your pinpointer, you're going to need something to dig with. I've got here with me my spade. This one has got the edges cut. It just makes it, in certain terrain, you need a bit more of a pointy edge just to get through the surface. You can use a sand scoop as well. I do own one. A sand scoop is a lot easier to scoop down underneath the surface, and the sand scoop has holes in, so all the water that builds up when you scoop up and all the sand, it can all filter through the holes, sometimes revealing the target inside the sand scoop.
So while detecting on the beach, what sort of things do you find, Ben?
Well, I've just got a handful of stuff here that I've found today, and these are the most common things that I found. A beach fishing weight, we find loads of these. Today I found a 20p. You find coinage, as well as some old coins as well. I've got some pre-decimal coins here, and a lot of ring pulls. If you want to be a detectorist, you've got to get used to finding ring pulls.
Yeah, there's a lot of rubbish out there, isn't there?
There is. That's quite interesting. A lead seal of some description. I'm not too sure at the moment. So what I do with that, Luke, is I take it home and I go on the Google and I do a little bit of research, and we ask people on Facebook and metal detecting groups and things, and it's a massive community out there, and people all get together and help each other out, and more often than not you can get to the bottom of what certain artifacts are that you've dug up. Interesting one for me today is this. It's looks like a spring, but it's actually the core of a grenade. So yeah, there's, you do find bullets and shrapnel and evidence of the war on the beaches.
I have to ask, Ben, why did you choose a bike for transport?
It originally started with my car being off the road, and I wanted to go detecting. So I thought, how am I going to get from my house down the beach without walking with a big detector and a spade on my shoulder? And I thought, I'll go by bicycle. So I just strapped it all up on my bike with some bungee cords, and off I went, and it worked. And I've since got my car back on the road, but I keep choosing to put it all on the bike and get down here. You see more on a bicycle. You can go longer routes and see different sights and go places you wouldn't normally go in a car.
I've had an amazing time on the beach today with Ben, delving a bit deeper into our history. We must move on now to Woodbridge and have something to eat. Cycle priority lanes like this one near Woodbridge and Suffolk are ideal. They have 2 wide lanes either side of the road for cyclists and 1 lane for cars in the middle. This forces drivers to be very careful when overtaking. Woodbridge is a lovely little town situated in the heart of Suffolk. It features lots of maritime and sailing history, as well as Roman forts and even a working tide mill. After I've finished my break and dinner, I shall be following this River Deben down all the way to the base where it starts, going through Wickham Market, Easton and ending up in Framlingham. This is the village of Easton, situated between Wickham Market and Framlingham in Suffolk. Here I actually grew up myself. There's a primary school, a middle school and a River Deben that we've been following this whole journey. There's also Easton Farm Park just up the road, so plenty of fun for all the family. To Framlingham. Behind me here is Framlingham Castle. It's quite an impressive structure, as you can see. It's about 150, 170 foot tall, and it's been burnt down 2 or 3 times over the years. Cool, so we made it to the Orchard campsite here in Wickham Market. Situated 5 minutes from the A12, this campsite in the heart of Suffolk has lots of local attractions, including Framlingham Castle, where you can learn lots of history about the area, as well as Easton Farm Park, where you can feed the animals with your children and loved ones. So, this is my home for the night. You can see around me there's quite a big top field. This is the top one. In a minute I'll take you down to the lower field, beyond the tree line in the distance there, and I'll show you the river and ponds and things to do on this campsite. Here at the Orchard you don't necessarily have to even camp in a tent or basher. This is one of the ponds. In fact, this is a smaller pond of the 2. The other one, situated just next to it, is a bit larger and there's such thing like bream, tench and even a few big carp in it. This one is more of the kiddies netting pool, or pond sorry, which you can fish for tadpoles, newts and that sort of thing. So let's go down to the river now and take a look. This is the River Deben on the bottom field of the campsite. This runs all the way down to Woodbridge, where it becomes a tidal saltwater estuary that goes in between Bordsey and Felixstowe, Old Felixstowe, sorry. The River Deben from here has just come from Framlingham Eastern way. It's a lot smaller over there and it's a really nice stretch of river here. In here you'll find pike, perch, dace, roach, rudd, eels, even a few brown trout. It's a lovely little place to camp and fish, and even if you bring a canoe down here or an inflatable dinghy with the kids, I recommend it's a good idea. The on-site facilities include an indoor ping pong table, children's swings, a newly renovated kitchen area, very nice toilets and even family-sized showers. With a children's snug area where they can relax and play, and an outdoor seating area next to the camp shop, which has everything from chocolate and cold beer to fishing rods and children's nets. You may even like to use the shared freezers, although this can be limited at busy times of the year. With several events throughout the year, including a Halloween and Alien weekend, where both the children and adults alike can partake in fancy dress competitions and discos, all under a big top tent. On a few of these occasions, the owners cook a massive feast for all their guests, with such dishes as chili con carne, seafood platter, paella with vegetarian options available, and rumour has it they may do a hog roast in the near future. Unfortunately, our time here in Framlingham has come to a close, concluding this episode in the series. Please join me, Hippie Swift, next time on Exploring by Bike.